else joining us? Or? Go ahead. Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. All right. So I only have you guys, so I'm gonna be drilling you the whole time with this. It's okay. We didn't do much. We just talked about verbs, and I'm revising the basic concepts almost every time, just to make sure that anyone who's watching this or attending it is kind of being reminded of the basics, inshallah, as we go along. Last time I talked about the past tense verb and the command verb. The past tense verb is mabni. It's mabni al fath or al dhamm or al sukun. Mabni means that it's built on a certain haraka, or it'll never change. Mabni means that there's no expression of different statuses within the sentence. It's not mu'rab. Mabni is telling you that this is a very rigid or lifeless word. It doesn't do different things. It is what it is. So sometimes the end of it will be sukoon, sometimes the end of it will be a fatha, sometimes the end of it will be a dhamma, but that doesn't change the fact that it doesn't express itself through harakat. It's not expressional. All right, that's one thing. Now, fi'l al-amr, which is the command verb, right? It's mabni ala al-jazm. So it's also mabni, but it's mabni on one status. It's always majzoom. It can't be anything else. So you'll say, well, that's an expression. It is an expression, but it's an expression that doesn't change. So it's not really expressing itself in different statuses. Not sometimes marfu', sometimes majzoom, sometimes mansoob. No, it's always majzoom. That's what it is. And then the bina, it'll be built on either sukoon or the deletion of a illah or the deletion of a letter at the end of it. Okay, so and that's how we're supposed to look at the past tense verb and the present verb. So if you the command verb. So if you look at them, what we read last time, depending what page is this on? Do you guys know?
I think it's 9.
So af'alu thalatha, the verbs are 3 types: madin wa mudari' wa amr. So past tense, present tense, and commands. Nahu daraba wa yadribu wa idrib. I'll give you 3 examples here. فالماضي مفتوح الآخر أبدا. The past tense verb is always has a fath at the end of it, and that is what I meant by mabni ala al-fath. Sometimes mabni on other things, but it's mabni ala al-fath most of the time. والأمر مجزوم أبدا. And the command verb is always majzoom. It'll never be anything else but majzoom. والمضارع, mudari' is different. So to kind of break down the so this is Madi. Over here is Amr, right? And we said both of them are Mabni. Both of them are Mabni. Red doesn't work either, so I just stick to black. Okay, fair. Mabni ala al-fath أو السكون أو الضمة. Here مبني على الجزم. So it's always majzoom, always, right? Now the third part, al-mudari', which is the present tense verb. The present tense verb is not mabni. So if you see here, the first 2 that we talked about, mabni, right? The word mabni means it doesn't have the flexibility to carry different capacities within a sentence. And I've repeated the same sentence many times. I want you to be able to know it and understand it. So it can't carry different capacities. It is what it is. It can't be different things in a sentence. A past tense verb will always be a past tense verb, always serve one goal, and so will a command verb. Yes? Ala. So mabni ala al-fath or al-sukun or al-dhamma, depending. And mabni ala al-jazm for fi'l al-amr. Either way, and there's different ways to express that. Now, I told you guys to begin with that words are either mu'rab or mabni. Mabni means it can't express itself. It is very strict. It's lifeless. It doesn't change capacities. Mu'rab means it can change capacities. From verbs, only the present tense verb is mu'rab. Only the present tense verb can change capacities and can carry more than one status. But the other two are mabni, which is important that you kind of know the difference between the two. All right. So he's going to talk about mu'rab in the text at this point. So what he says is, وَالْمُضَارِعُ, so the present tense verb المضارع, ما كان في أوله إحدى الزوائد الأربع. Yes. Yeah, it's mabni on whatever's at the end of it. It's mabni on whatever's at the end of it, with no not being attached to any status. Al-amr is attached to the status of jazm. It is always in that status, doesn't change. Yeah. So it's only fatih unless something is attached to it. So لعب is مبني على الفتح. لعبت مبني على السكون. No, because you attach something to the end of the thing. So, and you force the ba to have a sukoon. Or you said la'ibu, right? And now you force the ba to have a dhamma. So it's mabni on whatever is at the end of it. And so, but on the fatih is what is default. So any past tense verb by default is mabni ala al-fath. And then these two may change as depending on what you attach to the end of it. Sometimes even fatha. Sorry, we already said that. Yeah, it's one of those three. There's no other mini vowel for it to be mabni on, right? But it doesn't have a status. It's not mansoob. It's not marfu'. It's not majzoom. It's just mabni on whatever the last mini vowel is at the end of it. Over here is mabni al jazm. It has a status, but it's stuck to it. It can't change, so it's still mabni. Mu'rab means you can flip. You can go from marfu' to mansoob to majzoom, or from marfu' to mansoob to majroor. That's what mu'rab means. You can go from one status to the other. You can carry different capacities. Al-mudari' is mu'rab. It can carry different capacities within a sentence. What he explains to us in the text, he says, ما كان في أوله إحدى الزوائد الأربع التي يجمعها قولك أتيت. Or no, sorry, anaitu. Alright, so this word, the four letters here, are the letters that the present tense verb is going to start with. So a present tense verb has to start with one of these four letters. It has to start with one of these four letters. It can't start with anything besides these four letters. Right? So the word la'iba that I gave you, you know that it's not a present tense verb because it's starting with a lam. It can't be a present tense verb. It has to start with one of these four. However, that doesn't mean that a past tense verb can't have one of these four. It can have one of these four. Akala, for example, right? But it's still a past tense verb. What I'm telling you is a present tense verb can only start with one of these four. That's what I'm telling you. That's a piece of information that I'm giving you. I'm not saying that if you see them, that means it's automatically a present tense verb. What I'm saying that a present tense verb cannot start with anything but these four letters. Okay. Give me an example. Try to prove me wrong. Give me a present tense verb that doesn't start with one of these four letters. Give me a present tense verb that does not start with one of these four letters. I dare you. Try. So I'll give you an example of a few present tense verbs. يعمل. Starts with a ya. تذهب. You go, or she goes, based on depending on the context of the sentence. ألعب, I play. نأكل, we eat. يضربون, they're hitting. As you notice, at the beginning, it's always one of those four. Put together in the word anaitu, which doesn't. Anyways, it's alif nun ya ta, right? Remember the 5 exceptional verbs? What are they? So, يفعلون, right? تفعلون, يفعلان, تفعلان, And taf'alin, and that works for any verb. What do all 5 of them begin with? Right? Aya or a ta. Yeah, or a ta. Because they're all present tense verbs. Because they're mu'rab, right? We talked about the fact that they can carry different capacities. Sometimes they're marfu', sometimes they're mansoob or majzoom, depending on what's happening in the sentence. So, something that you can identify a present tense verb with is that it has to begin with one of these 4 letters. It cannot begin with anything else. Right? And these 4 letters are not just, it's not a matter of just fancying these letters, right? They actually serve a purpose. Meaning there's a point of why these letters exist and why we're choosing them, what they do. So let's take a standard verb, the word fa'ala, he did something. Right. Now let's have it begin with one of these 4. So we can say af'al, we can say yaf'al, we can say taf'al, and we can say naf'al, just without adding anything at the end of it, right? So af'al means what? Af'al, I do, right? So this is for the regarding the person who is speaking. This is important stuff. Put this down. This is very important for you. The hamza says that is referring to the verb as the person who is speaking doing it. Okay, yaf'al without adding anything at the end is referring to a third party. Okay, it's referring to a third party that is either plural or masculine. Bear with me for a moment. I'll explain it to you in a second. Taf'al is referring to someone you're addressing, or a singular feminine, right? So you're addressing someone, or third party singular feminine, or address singular feminine, right? Naf'al is talking about the plural, us, we. All right, so if you want to say do in English, you want to say I do, then you put a hamza basically, right? If you want to say he, of course not do, but does, right? Then you would say yeah. If you want to say she does, you would say taf'al. If you want to say we do, you would say naf'al. That's to make it as simple as possible. That's to simplify it like to its basics. But of course you can add things at the end of this verb to make it a bit more complicated, right? So if you want to talk about and that's why the 5 exceptional verbs are important. So this is what it looks like without adding the 5 exceptional verbs with it, which is yaf'alan, yaf'alun, taf'alan, taf'alun, and taf'alin. Right? Are you understanding how this works? Okay. I'm gonna do it again, but this time I'm gonna break it down a bit more in a bit more detail. Okay. So let's take the same verb. With nothing attached to the end of it, and then we have to say this verb but has things attached to the end of it. Okay? Still nothing's changing, meaning how we're going to begin this present tense verb is going to be one of these 4 letters. I'm not changing anything, but I'm showing you that based on those letters, we'll find that the verb means something. Meaning now you have 2 words in English. In English, do, fa'il do, right? Perform something, and then these will tell us what the subject looks like. It's giving us idea who. Is it me? Is it you? Is it us? Is it she? Is it he? Is it them? Who is it? So that's what these letters serve. Also, when there's something at the end of the fi'l, of the verb, that gives us even more information regarding it, what does a plural look like, or what is it dual, or is it a certain type of feminine addressed an addressed female, singular female. So the end of the verb will offer us also even more information. So here, one of the 4 can begin. Af'al, yaf'al, taf'al, and naf'al. I, he, she, we. Right? So now in English you use 2 words, Arabic you'll use one, but your present tense verb will have one of the 4 letters at the beginning of it to tell you what this is. Now you know that even from just reading the Quran, after a while it makes sense, right? When you hear yaf'alun, you know he's talking about someone else. And when it's used taf'alun, you know it's talking about you, right? So you know based on, after a while, just reading the Quran enough, you start making those connections. Now, with the waw and noon at the end, which is plural, the waw and noon here is saying that we're talking about a group, plural. So what can we start this with? We can say yaf'alun, or can we say taf'alun? Yaf'alun is third party plural. Taf'alun, addressed plural. So af'al, I do it. Yaf'al, he does. Taf'al, she does. Naf'al, we do. Right? Taf'al can also be used for you. So anta taf'al, I can also talk about you. Right? Or it can be she. Hiya taf'al. Alright. Yaf'alan, this is a dual form. Talking about two. So either we say yaf'alan, third party dual, right? Or taf'alan, addressed dual, so you two. Or you can use this for third party feminine dual. So if 2 women are doing something, taf'alan, but that's very weak in the Arabic language. Meaning scholars of linguistics may tell you that's not acceptable. You should say taf'alna. Anyways, that's why I'm going to leave that out. That's why I've always left that out. I'm going to continue to leave that out for a while. The last one here, taf'alin, only has one thing that can start with. You can always start with the ta. You can't say yaf'alin or af'alin. It has to be taf'alin. And this is addressed singular feminine. And these are the present tense verbs that we have in Arabic. These are present tense verbs. They look something like that. Af'al, I do. Yaf'al, he does. Taf'al, you do or she does. Naf'al, we do. Yaf'alun, they do. Taf'alun, they, as you, the plural you do, but the plural you, not the singular. Address plural, right?
What's the difference in harfa and yaf'al? Both time masculine?
Okay, yaf'alun, third party plural. They did something, they're doing something, they do.
Male or female, anyone?
Male, generally, but you can also use it for female. But if there's one male, then you're good. If there's only females, then you may find linguistic scholars will tell you you should probably use something else. But you can still use third party. You can still use this. It'll still work. Yes, yeah. So third party, male, female, still works both ways. Yeah. Taf'alun, is the address plural or the plural you. I mean, you do it, but I'm talking to a group. I'm not talking to one person. Address plural because I'm addressing you, right? So here. Yeah, you, but plural you. The plural you, not the singular you. Okay? Yes, that's why taf'al is either she does or you do, singular you. Taf'al, you do. Taf'alun, you, the plural you. Alright? Yaf'alan, third party dual, talking about 2. Taf'alan, address dual. Taf'alin, address female, singular female. Right? So if you're talking about a singular female, you will say taf'al, because you're talking about her. But if you're talking to her, you'll say taf'alin. That make sense? I'm going to go around these a couple of times for a few lessons until they sink in, because these are important. So if I do something, what are you going to say? If I do it. If I'm doing something, if I'm doing it. Say that you're doing something. What would you say? In Arabic, Habibi, not in Chinese or in English. You would say af'al, right? You'll say af'al. I'm doing it. I do it, right? You can use any verb you want, any verb at all. You know, eating, hitting, running, sleeping, all works, right? If I want to say he does it, I'm talking about a singular person that's not here. I'll say yaf'al, right? If I'm talking about people who aren't here, but there's a lot of them, so it's not just one guy, I'll say yaf'alun. I'll recategorize these things again. I'll categorize them based on who we're talking to in a second. But I just want you guys to think a bit. If I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to Abdul Rahman, I want to talk to him, he's singular, I say taf'al. If I'm talking to both Harun and Abdul Rahman, dual, I'll say taf'alan, right? Because I'm talking to two. If I'm talking to Harun, Abdul Rahman and brother Mustafa, I'll say taf'alun, right? If I'm talking about a female, a single female, I'll say taf'al. That's what she's doing. And if I come up to her to speak to her, I'll say taf'alin. All present tense, of course, right? If I'm saying we're doing something, I'll say naf'al. Are we making some sense here? Yes.
One of the verbs starts with an alif.
So af'al.
No, I mean
I do it. Yeah.
Akala.
Is that a present tense verb?
No, but you say I want, like I'm eating.
Yeah. So what would you do?
Kul.
Okay. Yeah, this is derivative. There's a problem of derivatives. I'll explain it just because you asked the question, but don't ask those questions again until we come to a point because they're complicated. So I'll show you how this works. Arabic is, again, it's a very systematic, logical. No, I'll show you how the derivatives work. So the word fa'ala, fatha, 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 right? You want to turn this into a present tense where I'm doing it. You want to turn this into a present tense that you're doing it. You want to talk about yourself. What will you say? Af'al, you'll say, right? So how did you change it? You added an alif. What did you do to the fa? Yes, and what did you do to the ayn? And the lam? Af'alu. It's always marfu. We'll come to that in a second. It's always marfu. That's how we do the change. So let's say I take the word akala. The same thing. So I put a hamza at the beginning, and then I put, this is like the fa, right? So I put, what do I put on it? Sukoon. And then the kaf has a fatha, and then the lam. Akalu, and Arabs don't speak like that. Right? It doesn't work for them. So what they do is, when they have two hamzas in a row, one with a haraka and one without, they turn the second hamza to an alif. And then they put a dhamma on this third one. And it becomes akulu. Okay? That's how you're answering the question. So it's a bit complex. Derivatives will come. They're very easy once all of this is clear to you. However, if this is not clear to you, if what I'm talking about here is still a mess, then I'll offer you derivatives and you will hate me forever. And you'll never, and I'll sit here and talk to the camera and no one will be here at all. Not even, Hafiz won't even give me the camera to use anymore. So you have to make sure that there's clarity on at least how to deal with present tense verbs first. But this is how things work. And it's very, and you'll see when you understand it, a lot of things in Arabic will start to make sense. Why words look the way they are, why they're pronounced the way they are. Now, let's do this one more time. Let's do it differently.
For feminine singular, don't we sometimes say
the difference there is we're removing the noon. Removing the noon is the expression of rafa'. So if you take the noon, you're just turning it into nasb or jazm. You're not changing the actual word. You're just changing the expression, right? Which is something that we talked about. The noon, when you take it away, you're not changing the word. You're just saying, oh, this word is no longer marfu'a. Now what is the default for every present tense verb? It's always marfu'a. The default is marfu'a. Now the command verb, the default is majzoom. But it doesn't ever leave that default situation. It's always majzoom. You can never change it. There's nothing you can do. But because it's mu'rab, the present tense verb, you can switch it from marfu' to mansub or majzoom. It has two other situations to exist in. But as a default, it's always marfu'. Okay, that's why we always put a dhamma on the. So it has a dhamma. It's marfu' until proven otherwise. That's how we think. If there's no reason, if there's nothing affecting it from outside of the sentence, there's going to be marfu'. So let's use this based on who is speaking. So if I'm doing it. So if al-mukhatib, no, let's not do that. So the speaker, if you're talking about yourself, what will you do? You'll put a hamza, right? And then af'al. Is there any other way to talk about myself? No. Yes, so from the hamza that comes at ana, right? If we, yeah, so now we the speakers, naf'al. Okay, that's to make that as simple as possible. So if I'm speaking, the speaker, me, af'al. If we're talking about ourselves, naf'al. Now, if I want to talk about someone, so I want to do a bit of ghiba, if I want to be talking, or maybe say some nice things about someone, if I want to speak of someone, so let's say third party. Are you understanding what third party means? We're talking about someone else. We're not talking about ourselves, and we're not talking to the person in front of us. So third party has more than one. If it's singular, so I'm talking about one person, right? Masculine. So I'm talking about one male. So what do I do? Yaf'al. All right? We're talking about third party now. We're talking about someone. So we're talking about a singular masculine, singular male. Now, if I want to talk about a singular female, I'm talking about one lady. What do I say? Yes. Okay. If I want to talk about a third party, it's not singular anymore. We're done singular. Let's move on to this next one. What's after singular in Arabic? Dual, right? So dual. What would I say for the singular dual? Sorry. Third party dual. I'm sorry. Third party, you know what? Yaf'alan. So third party, we're talking about two people. Now let's talk about a third party, but they're plural. Right? Plural, masculine. Yaf'alun. Right? Let's say plural, feminine. We haven't done this one. Right? We haven't done this one yet. But it either yaf'alna or taf'alna. One of those two. So plural feminine, I'm talking a third party plural feminine. Either say yaf'alna or taf'alna, depending on the sentence and what's in it. Right, so that's third party. Now let's talk about addressed. Addressed. We're talking to someone in front of us. So if you're talking to you're addressing singular, you're talking to one person. Talking to one person, what do you say? Anta taf'al. No, you don't have to add, but I'm going to give you an example. You can say anta, you would say anta taf'al. Why is this a big, where does the confusion lie? The confusion lies sometimes here. That the address singular, all right? Singular masculine, and the singular third party feminine, all right? Both start with a ta. So that's sometimes why you can be confused. Now you won't be confused for too long in any sentence because the context will give it away almost automatically. Like it'll be very clear through the context of the sentence whether it's addressed singular masculine or third party singular feminine. Okay? Addressed masculine. Addressed dual. Or before that, let's say singular feminine. So if you're talking to one guy, you say أنت تفعل. If you're talking to one lady, you'll say yes. You'll say تفعلين. If you're talking to one lady, that's what you'll say. If you're talking to two people, you'll say تفعلان. If you're talking to a plural, masculine. Yeah, what did you say? تفعلون. Right, if you're talking to a group, that is strictly females, أنتن تفعلن. So the speaker, us, me, and us. So when I'm talking as me the singular or me the plural, speaker we. Third party, we look at singular masculine, singular feminine, dual, plural masculine, plural feminine. We're talking to someone, we're talking either to singular masculine, singular feminine, dual, plural masculine, or plural feminine. Is there any other possibility of speech in the language? So either I'm talking about me, myself as a singularly, or I'm talking about the royal we, the speaker, but in a plural form, or I'm talking about third parties, or I'm talking to someone, right? The third part, and they all have the exact same. See, look, the exact same categorization: singular masculine, singular feminine, dual, plural masculine, plural feminine. Singular masculine, singular feminine, dual, plural masculine, plural feminine. The same breakdown. And then it looks a bit different. But what do they all have in common? They all start with one of these four letters. And all these present tense verbs and all the different situations that they have, they all will start with one of these four letters. Not one of them goes out without starting with one of those letters. Does that make sense? Of course it doesn't. Let's try one more time. Okay, we'll do it one more. It's okay. These things take time. Try one more time. All right. Sorry? Adjust the noon? Addressed what? Why would we address the noon? We do? Naf'al, yeah. So one of them is we, naf'al, right? So if it's me, if it's singular, af'al. If it's plural, I'm talking about myself as 3 or 4 people, we'll say naf'al, right? So let's try that one more time. So المضارع okay, we'll break it down to the categories that it has. So speaker, third party, and addressed. Address means you're talking to the person. How would you speak to someone? Third party, how you speak about someone. Speaker, how you speak about yourself. Okay? So speaking about myself, if I'm singular, I will say af'al, correct? And if it's plural, we'll say naf'al. Okay? Third party, give me the breakdown.
Singular masculine.
Yes.
Singular.
Singular So that's the male sign. So what would we say? How would I talk about one guy? Yes, I would say yaf'al. I want to talk about one female. I will say taf'al. Right. I want to talk about two dudes.
They all are going to be marfu'.
In the situation that we have, the default is always marfu'. And what we're going to study immediately after this is what could cause the status of rafi' to change. How can we, if it's going to turn into nasb or jazm, right? But first of all, we have to know the different types of present tense verbs, what they look like, and what they look like when they're marfu', so that you know the default. So how is this marfu'? How do you know that this is marfu'? Because what's at the end of it? The noon, right? The noon's there, then we know it's marfu'. Okay. Plural. The alif lets you know it's dual, but the fact that it's marfu' the noon, because if you take away the noon, yaf'ala, it's just the new existence of the noon for the 5 exceptional verbs is one of them, right? Is the existence of the noon or deletion of the noon. Yeah, so one of the 2 of the 5 exceptional verbs are dual form, yaf'alan, taf'alan, right? The alif tells you it's dual, right? But the noon tells you if it's marfu' or not. All right, the alif is always going to be there because it tells you if it's dual or not. But the noon is the one that tells you if it's marfu' or if it's not marfu'. It's okay. Plural, masculine. Very good. Yaf'alun. And this is all third party. We're talking about people. It's all ghiba, all right? Plural, feminine. There's 2 ways to do it. Either you say yaf'alna or taf'alna. And this has a very specific situation. I'm not going to talk about it now. We'll talk about it later because it's very confusing. Just know that that's how it's supposed to look like. Now, address. You're talking to someone. You're talking to a dude. You'll say تفعل. ماذا تفعل? I'll say, right? What are you doing? See, there's only 2 words. ماذا, what? تفعل. In English, what are you doing? There's 4 words. Are, of course, is there because it has to be. But you is the ta. Right? But ماذا تفعل can also mean in Arabic, what is she doing? Right? So if I looked at you and I said, ماذا تفعل? You know I'm talking about her. And if I say ماذا تفعل, then you know I'm talking about you. So when it comes to making the differentiation between this and this, the context will take care of it. Right? The context will always be how you're going to know if it's talking to you as a singular, if you're talking to a singular male, or if you are talking about a singular female. You want me to put that I'll put that as a footnote. All right? So the confusing part, talking to one male or talking about one female. We never know until we go through the sentence. It's hard to know. You have to read the sentence for it to make sense to you. There's a lot of examples in the Quran. If you can think of a few, you can. Yes, go ahead. Okay. So the second, singular female. So we're talking to one lady. So what will we say? We're talking to one lady. Taf'alin. Okay? One of the 5 exceptional verbs, right? Taf'alin. We're talking to 2 people. Yes. We're talking about a plural group of guys, or a plural group with men and women in it. It could be mixed. Doesn't have to be just guys. It can be mixed as well. Huh? Yeah. Here, all this is addressed. We're talking to a group of guys or a mixed group. All right. Yes. تفعلون. We're talking to a group of ladies. تفعلنا. And again, just ignore, not because we want to ignore groups of women, but just ignore them for now so that I can explain them later, because it's a very specific situation in the Arabic language that we have to learn how to deal with. But I don't want to confuse people too much. But we will talk about that inshallah as a next step. So these are the different types of present tense verbs. Right? There's really nothing else. I've encompassed the whole thing for you. So any verb that doesn't look like one of these, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, doesn't look like one of these 13 verbs, is not a present tense verb. Now, to confuse you more, because it's not fun if we don't do that, you can still attach things to the end of these verbs. So if I want to say huwa yaf'aluha, he is doing it, and whatever it is we've already established in a previous sentence, then I can just add a ha here, right, and an alif. Yaf'aluha, right? So that's just in addition to this. We haven't changed the verb. We haven't done anything to the verb. We've just attached an object to it. We've attached an object to the end of it, and that can happen in different situations. We can do that. We do a lot. And hiya taf'aluhu. Also doing it, something that we've established in a previous sentence, whatever that may be. All right. So there's different things you can add to the end that won't change the basic way these words work. Right. So these are the 13 ways that we can find a present tense verb. What do they have in common? Most importantly, two things. They have one of the 4 letters at the beginning of it, either a hamza, a noon, a ya, or a ta. And they are all marfu' by default. Like in the default situation, they are marfu'. That makes sense? That's the default that they're in. If nothing comes and affects that, changes that, then it'll stay marfu' until something happens. Should I do this one more time? Or are we good? One more time? Okay, let's do it one more time. All right. Here is always going to have a fatha on it. We're looking at present tense verbs. We're looking at 3, because when you're speaking, there's only 3 ways to speak. You can either speak about yourself, you can speak to someone in front of you, or you can speak about someone who's not here. Those are the 3 dimensions we have. Is there a 4th? I don't know of a 4th one. Want to do that as well? Oh, okay. I don't mind. I don't mind. I can do that. All right. So let's do this way. Ana. I want to say I do something. So I would say ana أفعل. All right. نحن. We. نحن نفعل. Obama's slogan. هو. Yeah. He. هو يفعل. Okay. هي. هي تفعل. أنت. You. أنت. Again, are we talking to one male or are we talking about one female? Right? Exactly the same. Now, who can give me more examples here? How do I continue? All this is singular, right? This is plural for us, but 1, 2, 3, 4 are singular. Give me something else. Give me another lamir. Hum. They. Think about what is they. They is third party, plural, masculine. Right? Hum, masculine. So hum. Yes, hum yaf'alun. Right? Hunna is on the women's side. You're talking about a plural group of ladies. You will say hunna yaf'alna or taf'alna. Like I said, don't ask me about it right now. We'll talk about it later. All right. What else do we have? Antum. Antum. Think. Don't talk to him. Think. This is important. You are doing well. Think. Antum. What would you say? Antum. Antum. Think. Taf'alun. You want to talk to a group of ladies. You'll say antunna. Taf'alna. Right? Let's talk about two people. Huma. Huma what? Yaf'ala, very good. Antuma. You two. What? Antuma. Taf'alan, very good. Count, how many do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. What's missing? You did nahnu. What's missing? Aywa, anti. Very good. So this is anta, talking to one person, male. Anti, you're talking to one lady. You'll say taf'aleen. So now we've looked at the same concept from three different angles. Okay, hopefully I will repeat them a number of times inshallah. But I want you to be able to start building some level of flexibility and understanding present tense verbs, because they are the most flexible and the most used in the Arabic language by far. And because they're mu'rab, because they can carry different capacities in a sentence, they can be marfu'. Everything we're looking at here is marfu', right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are definitely marfu' because they have the noon. And these ones you can slap a dhamma at the end of it and it's going to be marfu' as well. Okay? All right. Let's, yes, go ahead. Both, either way. Sometimes it could be like this, sometimes like that. There's a lot of difference among scholar linguistics on when one can be used and when it can't, and it's just something that you kind of learn way down the line after you've kind of mastered the basics for quite some time. But anyways, it's it is what it is for now. Okay, so let's move on to so always remember that little question: am I talking to one male or talking about one female? They'll sound the same. It'll be the same word until the sentence, tells us. So. Yeah. The way you just put it, you can tell the difference because of the pronoun. Yeah. Sometimes there's not a pronoun. I want to think of an example in the Quran. All right. Surah An-Naml, at the end of it, there's an ayah, tukallimuhum. So this is a present tense verb. The hum at the end of it, like I told you, sometimes you can attach these things to the end of it. So tukallim, which is it? Is it addressed, singular, or is it third party, singular? Tukallimuhum, telling them or talking to them, or explaining to them, أن الناس, that human beings, كانوا بآياتنا لا يوقنون, did not have certainty in the signs of Allah, in our signs, or the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So is it you will speak to them and tell them that, or that she will speak to them and tell them that? Anyone have an idea? Is it you? So the ayah, where is Abdul Rahman? What is this ayah, Abdul Rahman? You know Surah An-Naml. تكلمهم أن الناس كانوا بآياتنا لا يوقنون. What's the beginning of it? Repeat. وإذا وقع القول عليهم وإذا وقع القول عليهم أخرجنا حبيبي عليك. You need مراجعة. وإذا وقع القول عليهم, and when the time comes for them, and when the moment of truth is upon them, أخرجنا لهم دابة من الأرض. We will extract from them, for them from the ground, a creature, دابة من الأرض, تكلمهم, that will tell them. So it's a she, it's a third party she. The creature from the earth, أخرجنا لهم دابة من الأرض, right? The creature or the beast that comes from the ground. And she will say, this is just around Yawm al-Qiyamah. This is one of the alamat, one of the signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah. That she will come out, this beast, and this creature, and it will tell people. Some scholars say this will happen Yawm al-Qiyamah itself. And tell people those who stood by the deen and those who didn't. So the ta here is actually a third party feminine. So it's all based on the context of the sentence. It's very hard to miss it unless you're not reading the sentence in full. So what I did for you is I copied and pasted, or I cut and pasted. I took off this part. So it's impossible for you to know. You're not going to be able to know. It could be either. But when I add the whole sentence and I start from the beginning, so now there's a big chunk, important part of that sentence that you left out that would have told us, is it third party singular feminine, or is it addressed singular masculine? Okay. That's the best example I can give you right now. So let's move on in the text. وَهُوَ مَرْفُوعٌ أَبَدًا. And the present tense verb always is marfu', is always marfu'. حَتَّى يَدْخُلَ عَلَيْهِ نَاصِبٌ أَوْ جَازِمٌ. Until affected by a tool that is nasib, that will cause nasb, or jazim, that will cause jazm. Okay, so there are tools. There are small, the word is preposition, is that the proper word? So prepositions that will cause nasb or cause jazm to a present tense verb. فَالنَّوَاصِبُ عَشَرَةٌ. So he counts the nawasib. So everyone pay attention, this is important. النَّوَاصِب. So nawasib, الفعل المضارع. The tools that will cause nasb for a present tense verb. Okay, the tools that will cause, the prepositions that cause nasb, that affect the present tense verb and make it mansub. Because the present tense verb by default is always marfu', just like all words in the Arabic language. They're always marfu' until you change around their status or play around with them or affect them with something, then they'll no longer be marfu'. If they're main characters and no one's touching them, they're going to be marfu'. You change their status, they're no longer main, they're secondary, or they're not unnecessary, or they're affected by a verb, then they may become mansub or majroor. The same thing goes for verbs. They're marfu', and present tense verbs are always marfu' unless you bring a nasib, something that will make it mansub, or a jazim, something that will make it majzoom. Right? So let's count them. Someone count them for me. I can't see the text. What's the first one? N, right? Okay, this dude is the most important of all. He's the reason behind everything. Everything else, there's only two of them that are independent. All the other tools use this guy. Use N either apparently, or use it abstractly, or use it meaning it's hidden. It's there, it's estimated, it's just not, it's not read, but it's there. It's estimated and it's still a part of the sentence. And I'll explain that. Meaning, from a meaning point of view, from a comprehensive point of view, the N is there, but it's just not written there. Okay, and that's why this is very, very important. Let's wait for the Adhan. Allahu Akbar, Allah. So we're going to count all the tools that cause nasb, and then we're going to study them one by one. And I'll give you examples. We'll take some examples of the Quran, and we'll put together some sentences with them so that they make sense to you. Inshallah, you'll see how they can cause nasb on different present tense verbs. So first of all, think about an. Have you ever read an in the Quran with a verb after it? Okay, think of one. If you can think of one, while I write the rest. Because the ones that he gave 10 nawasib. Now the number that he gave is not accurate. They're not 10, they're more than 10. And some of the ones that he gave here are controversial. Because this is an old text again. Ibn Alajurroomiyyah, who wrote it, is a very, very renowned scholar, but it's a very old text. So a lot of adjustments or debates were kind of settled after he died, after he wrote this text. So certain things are no longer exactly the way he wrote them, and that's fine. We'll just kind of play around the differences that he has. So I'm going to put up the actual nawasib that are important for us to learn about, and the ones that aren't important, I'll put them aside and maybe come to at the end of this study. So after that, did you find one, Abdul Rahman? Where? ولولا أن يكون الناس. Very good. No, very good. No, you got. You're good. No, you're close enough. ولولا أن يكون. Now, this here is a present tense verb. Okay? It has the ya at the beginning of it. And you say, well, there's a waw and noon. Now you chose something, that's going to confuse everyone. Allah ysamhak, I hold this choice. Because yaf'alun, right, usually is third party, plural, masculine. But this waw and noon is a part of the word. The word is kana. From the root. So the waw and noon is a part of the word. It's not something added to it. If you were to add, you would say yakununa. You could say yakununa. So here this is just the regular verb with a ya at the beginning of it. The verb with nothing at the end of it, no waw and noon at the end of it, and a ya at the beginning of it is third party, singular, masculine. Right? Yakuna. Why? Because an-nas is a masculine singular noun, right? So it's referring to an-nas, which makes sense. Meaning the reason it's here is because it's referring to this. Now an comes here at the beginning, so we say walawla an yakuna. لولا أن يكون. It's not yakunu because the n is before, so now it has a fatha. Doesn't have a dhamma anymore. Meaning normally it would be yakunu. You would find a dhamma on the noon. But because an is here, it affected it. Yes. أنكم is not an.
No, that one.
An, not in.
No,
yeah, so that's in.
So an.
Yeah, it has to be an. Yes. Yeah, so it can't be past tense because past tense verbs can't be mansub or majzoom or marfu'a. They are mabni, right? So it has to be an and then a present tense verb. Yeah, it means it can't have different. Yeah, that's what mabni means. Yeah, it's fixed. It can't be changed. What else do we have? Come on, someone give me something. All right. Let's use something that's outside the Quran for now. Okay. And tutraku. And what did you say? And ya'khudahum. So we're going to use both. Right? Give me. Very good. That's all right. I'm happy as long as he's coming up with something. Okay, let's use these examples. So this is an addition to the end of the verb. That's right. And ya'khudh is a verb that has nothing attached to the end of it, so it's not. So what is with a ya at the beginning of it? What is it referring to? It is a third party, right? Singular masculine. It's referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. Ya'khudha. Hum, take them, right? So it's supposed to be ya'khuduhum. The dhal is marfu', it should be يأخذهم. But because there's this here, this will come to this dhamma and turn it to a fatha. أن يأخذهم. It will be أن يأخذهم. Right? تتركوا. Right? It's usually تتركون. Where's the noon? The noon is deleted. Why? Because it's mansub. Because the an will cause nasb. When one of the 5 exceptional verbs is mansub, what do we do to it? We take away the noon. Tutraku. Ay ya'muru. Exactly the same thing. Ya'muruna. Ya'muruna is third party, plural masculine, but the n is a nasib, so it comes to it and it takes away the noon, so it becomes ay ya'muru. Are we understanding how this works? So when the n is before a present tense verb, it will cause nasb. It will give it a fatha. Yakuna, ya'khudha. Right? And if it's one of the 5 exceptional verbs, it will come and take away the noon. An ya'muru and tutraku. It's not tutrakuna or ya'muruna anymore because it lost the noon. I will give like extensive examples inshallah next week bidnillah ta'ala, but this is what we're going to be studying for a while. Please listen to this maybe 1 or 2 times until it's clear to you, and I will repeat it inshallah next time. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallah bihamdika, la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam.